So those of you who have been around for a little bit know that I have been going on and on about the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles for quite a while now, and it's funny to me how the first video I did on it was like 2 months before Disney made the announcement that the show was coming to Disney Plus. I was talking about how this is one of my favorite shows from my early 20s, late teens, early 20s. I didn't actually watch when they aired, but I did catch them after the fact. And I just loved it because it's more Indiana Jones, and it was what introduced me to Sean Patrick Flannery. I've seen a lot of his films over the years, Boondock Saints. Um, but it's a really cool series, and it was redone. As I talked about, it originally launched as the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and then became the Adventures of Young Indiana Jones. And they sort of did some reshoots and condensed it into these 20, is it 22, I think, films that are like TV films. But there's a lot of cool stuff in this show, and when Disney and Lucasfilm made the push to put it all on Disney Plus on May 31st, which has been, whatever day we are now, it's like a week ago now. They're all prepping, for the launch of Indiana Jones 5 and the Dial of Destiny. So they put all the films up on Disney Plus, but they also put this. And the cool thing is Lucasfilm just put out a blog post the other day on it's literally called Young Indiana Jones: A Beginner's Guide, and it walks everybody through the series. And there's just a I'm gonna go through it with you guys because this is just so cool, and I think everybody out there who loves, you know, history, documentaries, archaeology. Indiana Jones is, as a character is great, but anybody who just loves fun, like family adventure television, this is a great series to watch. And the fact that it's streaming now on TV for the first time in like 20 years, I think, in 15, 20 years, you absolutely need to be watching this with your family because this is one of those shows that just everyone can appreciate from the young to the old because it's PG, there's nothing here that's going to offend anyone, and it's about historical figures throughout the course of time. So it's really cool, and not the whole course of time, but through the course of Indiana Jones' lifetime. And everything else. And this is the precursor to what led to them developing those, nearly 100 documentaries that was picked up by the History Channel, showcasing all sorts of really cool historical stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this here. The tagline here, learn more about the series by getting started return on Disney. And the first paragraph says, before the world discovered Indiana, Indiana discovered the world. Back in 1992, those words introduced audiences to Lucasfilm's newest television series, The Adventures of Young Indiana Jones, known at the time as the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Today, this one-of-a-kind story is available once again on Disney Plus, and as it meets a new audience, let's peel back the curtain on one of George Lucas's passion projects. And I think this is very important to understand that this definitely was a passion project because it never did find the audience that it deserved or that they wanted or the specifically that George Lucas wanted, but he poured a ton of money into this. And it was all filmed on location, so they shot all around the world. It wasn't like today where they do everything in a studio on a green screen. This was literally we're shipping crews all around and we're filming in the historical locations because that's going to give us the authenticity that we need to, make the best out of this show. Um, it says here at the time that this came out, Lucasfilm was venturing into live action television at the end of at the end of the 80s and into the early 90s, and Lucas was passionate about education. I said here he was committed to experimenting with alternative forms of classroom study, and the Lucasfilm Learning Division helped innovate new technology, including partnering with Apple Computer to bring their machines into schools. Lucas was also interested, however, in using storytelling as a learning tool. And The Last Crusade, there was a memorable prologue with River Phoenix, which portrayed a teenage Indiana Jones. Joining this concept with his educational interests, Lucas devised the idea for a television series involving young Indy's adventures around the world from boyhood to young adulthood. In each episode, he would encounter historical figures inspired by their true life counterparts, witnessing and participating in events that have shaped the culture, politics, science, and philosophy of our world today. Lucas himself had been inspired to learn about the past by reading narrative history books when he was a child. Young Indy would be the spark of curiosity for another generation with all the fun and entertainment value of a Lucasfilm production. So in this picture, we have a young T.E. Lawrence. from Lawrence of Arabia, and this is from the episode My First Adventure. And this is the actor who played the young Indiana Jones when he was a kid. There was two different actors who played it. So we had the young kid at the age of 10, played by Corey Carrier, and then we had Sean Patrick Flannery as a teenager and young adult Indiana Jones. So it says here the story is Indiana Jones, the Young Indy series comprised 22 feature-length episodes spanning the life of Indy between 1908 and 1920, so a period of 12 years essentially. Early episodes depict Indy around the age of 10, joining his parents and tutor on a world lecture tour, visiting locations like the Egyptian pyramids, the streets of Paris, the Great Wall of China, and then but the majority of the episodes were Indy as a teenager into his early adulthood by Sean Patrick Flannery. He runs away from home, gets caught up in the Mexican Revolution, joins the Belgian army during World War One, becomes a spy, goes to the Congolese jungles, Southern Pacific Ocean, and then he ends up back in the United States studying archaeology, and it says here on the cusp of becoming the hero we know after watching Harrison Ford's portrayal of him on the big screen. Such cool stuff. Says for indie fans, the series adds layers of backgrounds to the character. What inspired him to become an archaeologist? How did he learn to make things up as he goes along? When did he first fall in love? Relationships and etc. What about his relationship with his father, which was ultimately redeemed? And it says here entirely absent from the movies is Indy's mother, Anna. Young indie viewers discovered how she taught her son compassion and sensitivity. But there's also other characters like Helen Seymour, his friend Remy Baudin, and the many historical figures that he interacts with. I think that's one of the things I loved most about this show is how each episode has its own story. And the way What's up, everybody? Commercial break here. I got to give a shout out to our guild champions. It's the highest tier membership here on YouTube. We got Ancient Entity, Crazy as Relative, and Remy D. Thanks so much for your support. And of course, to all of the members here on YouTube, thanks for keeping me on the air full time. If you do like what you see and hear on my channel, don't forget to not only like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon, but please support. Consider me your Netflix, your Hulu, your Disney Plus, or HBO, whatever you want to call it. You can do memberships here on the channel starting at $3 a month. And of course, anytime you see me live or you watch a premiere, you can do super chats and stickers on those videos and super thanks on any upload you see, which allows me to keep doing this full time and paying the bills. So from Chris and I and all of our rescue cats, we say thank you. Let's get back to the video at hand. Story. And the way they've repackaged them after they did the reshoots, I think in the late 90s was when it was, where they're 22 feature films now. So you're getting like a true adventure story or a true adventure film every single time you sit down, and each one is completely different. It says here, although George Lucas primarily aimed to inspire young people to learn more about history, grown-ups are by no means immune to its many wonders and lessons. There's so much cool stuff here. So this is when, if you're a film nerd like I am and you love the process and learning all about this, there's a whole aspect to making it, to making the show. So this was all produced by Rick McCallum, who would later work on the Star Wars prequel trilogy. He also worked with Lucas on the Radio Lane Murders, and after Star Wars stuff, did the Red Tails. They did everything on an international scale, which I mentioned before. And they had a ton of guest stars who would go on to become big actors like Catherine Zeta-Jones, Daniel Craig, Christopher Lee, and they even had Harrison Ford in one episode, which was surprising. But he loves the character, so it made sense to have him bookend one of the episodes. Um, Most of the crew was made up of British professionals who had worked on the Star Wars prequels, and they spent 5 years on production across 24 countries with local support at every location. It says, meanwhile, back at Skywalker Ranch, Lucas was crafting stories with a group of British and American screenwriters, which include Rosemary Ann Sison, the English writer behind Upstairs, Downstairs, Frank Darabont, who would go on to do The Shawshank Redemption, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff over the years. And of course, the historical research prepped by Lucas's team of librarians at Lucasfilm. And I said here, at a time when most Hollywood studios were trashing or selling their old library stocks, Lucasfilm was growing its collection under the leadership of head librarian Debbie Fine. Said Young Indy also became an important testing ground for Lucas' newest production tools, primarily cut using Edit Droid, which was one of the first non-linear computer editors, and then Sound Droid, which was a digital audio tool used at Skywalker Sound. Really cool stuff. It initially aired on ABC in the U.S., then moved to the Family Channel. Excuse me. Won 9 Emmy Awards out of 11. Hang on, let me reread that. Won 9 Emmy Awards with 11 more nominations. Of course, it then was then re-edited from its broadcast form into the 22 feature-length episodes to put everything in a chronological orders. And it says here, new scenes of bookends were shot, including while on location for Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. And it arrived on VHS in '99, following a DVD release in 2007-2008. And the later release included the nearly 100 historical documentaries that were later sold to the History Channel, which is really, really cool. Um, oh, look at that shot of Sean Patrick Flannery as a young Indy. Oh, man. It's such a good show, everybody. Like, honestly, I talked about it earlier and I was saying I wasn't quite sure how to get a hold of it because it was like I think the only way you can get it is through the DVDs on like Amazon or if you buy them off eBay or something. But now it's streaming on Disney Plus. So I kind of feel like, even if you, yeah, I feel like this alone is worth a subscription to Disney Plus because I know a lot of people are like I don't want it, I don't like this, that, or the other about Star Wars. This has nothing to do with Star Wars. This is Indiana Jones. It's an amazing character, an amazing franchise, and the new film's coming out. And I feel like everyone who loves Indiana Jones and anybody who wants to get their kids into history and science and everything, I feel like this is a great show to just introduce the whole family to a fun time. So love to hear your thoughts, but I just want to preach more about this because I've been talking about the last few months, and now that it's actually streaming and airing, I think everybody should go out there and take a look at it. Love to hear your thoughts, of course. Let me know in the comments below. Like, sub, hit that bell icon. I'll see everybody in the next episode. Until then, stay safe. Happy adventuring, everybody.